According to legend, it hunts in the darkness. A monster seemingly drawn from a nightmare. It walks on two legs like a human, but has the head of a beast. It is a creature so horrifying, it is rarely spoken about above a whisper. The Goatman.
The Goatman is terrifying. It's something striking that strikes fear in the witnesses, and it's certainly something you would not want to meet in the dark.
From my understanding of the Goatman, it seemed to start up really in 1971 in Maryland. It looks like an upright, human-like creature, but has a goat-like head with glowing red eyes and huge horns, and looks like the devil, and is very frightening.
I think one of the most intimidating things about the Goatman is that it reportedly resembles the Christian devil. I mean, it's half man, it's half goat.
For decades, tales of this grotesque creature have been told wherever cryptozoologists gather, particularly in and around suburban Maryland. It all started following a shocking incident that took place in the small town of Bowie in October of 1971.
A young teenage girl was having a sleepover with some of her friends.
What was that?
They looked out the window, and to their horror, they saw this strange, hairy creature skulking around outside.
It scurried into the woods. A few days later, their new puppy went missing. Eventually, it was discovered along the railroad tracks. It had been decapitated and ripped apart. Skeptics claim it was just run over by a train. Others believed it was killed by the Goatman.
Usually, these kinds of stories of creatures have some starting point. For the Goatman, in 1971, everybody got hysterical and started reporting it.
This case really spawned terror in the entire community. The fever reached a pitch when some teenagers thought they had the Goatman trapped.
People were so scared of the Goatman during those initial sightings. A posse of teenagers had actually closed off an entire road and claimed that they had captured the animal. And when police arrived, whatever it was that they had cornered had escaped.
When you hear people's accounts of a goat-like man-sized creature, you have to stop and think for 1 minute, is it possible for a creature like this to even exist? It defies understanding. However, people have been seeing this creature for decades.
Some cryptozoologists suggested that possibly it was the creation of some sort of secret lab, and that some experiments had been going on, and the creature had escaped from that same secret lab.
I tend to believe that we've figured out everything with modern science and technology. But being that the Goatman combines both goat and man, makes you think, was it some sort of Frankenstein experiment gone wrong? Or was it purposely constructed and built and almost born this way?
January 1959. 9 mountaineers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute embark on a perilous journey through Russia's Ural Mountains. Their destination? A remote mountain peak known as Ortorten, which in the local Mansi language means, don't go there.
They went out on this very strenuous trek or mission to show that the mountain could be conquered. As far as we know, they were all experienced. Igor Dyatlov, who was in charge of the group, had about 7 missions to his name, similar missions. They were supposed just to study the mountain to show that they can withstand the incredible cold in this desolate place and come back.
A few days into their trek, the hikers move through a mountain pass with high winds and poor visibility, causing them to veer miles off course. Realizing their mistake and faced with the bitter cold of the coming night, they choose to stop and camp on a slope called Olat Saul, which in Mansi translates to the Mountain of the Dead.
It's a very windy area. When I say windy, the winds are horrible. And they should not have put the tent on that slope. They could have done it easily, 100 meters away in the forest. They went against all the knowledge that the experienced trekkers should have. So why would they put it out there? What drove them? Nobody knows for sure.
Weeks later, when it becomes clear that the group has failed to return from its expedition, a military search and rescue operation is launched. They find the campsite abandoned and a tent that has been torn to pieces. Curiously, the investigators determined that the tent was cut and ripped open from the inside, and the hikers appear to have fled in socks or barefoot.
We're dealing with a group of experienced hikers who escaped their tent in the middle of the night without any reason, unless something happened to their minds.
In search of the hikers, the investigators move to the edge of a nearby forest. What they eventually find has defied explanation for more than 50 years.
4 of them were discovered initially, and 5 of them were found later. And they all died differently. Some of the bodies died from exposure and were intact. Some of them were dressed completely. Most of them were naked, so to say. Others had horrible wounds on them. Their bones were crushed inside their bodies. Others, their skull was crushed. One woman lost her tongue and parts of her face. Others were burned, like somebody put their feet in the fire or they put it themselves. They escaped like some force. Something scared them.
The official causes of death for the hikers claimed that 6 had died from hypothermia, and the other 3 from fatal injuries caused by an unknown compelling force. But the inquiry was forced to an abrupt end by the Soviet government, and the chief investigator refused to sign off on the final report.
There were 2 investigators initially, and they were told to shut up and close the case with the determination that the cause of death was an invincible force of nature that killed them.
In some cases, the fact that some of them died from the bitter cold, okay, that makes sense. They're in a region that's freezing. But what about the other people? Fractured skulls, crushed lungs? There's something weird here.
Cuero, Texas, August 2007. After purchasing a brood of chickens from a neighboring ranch, Phyllis Canyon makes a series of gruesome discoveries inside her brand new hen house.
I brought the chickens home and I had them for about 2 weeks. And I went outside and one of the chickens was dead. What makes it unusual is the chicken was still laying there. And with the amount of predators that we have in the state of Texas, any predator would have taken the chicken and eaten it.
Over the next few weeks, Phyllis collected the remains of 27 more of her chickens, each one killed in the same inexplicable fashion.
Every one of them had been opened up in the thorax area, the feathers missing, and what appeared to me to be no blood on the ground. So that told me then, whatever it was not interested in the meat, but interested in the blood. And when I was talking to friends and neighbors about it, they all immediately said, oh my gosh, that's the behavior of a Chupacabra. It's gonna kill the animal and suck the blood.
Chupacabra. To those who claim to have encountered one, it is a fearsome monster.
Chupacabra means goat sucker, and it's a really creepy looking creature. Some people say it looks like some kind of strange hybrid-like dog.
The continental North American Chupacabra is a 4-legged or quadrupedal animal about the size of a dog, completely hairless, with a bluish-gray elephant hide type of covering, They also display a number of abnormal characteristics. Oftentimes their limbs are disproportionate lengths, so they're very grotesque, odd, weird-looking animals.
Certain that what was preying on her chicken coop was not a coyote or any other known canine, Phyllis began to consider whether it might be a chupacabra. And then, one morning, she got her answer.
One Saturday morning, I got a very early call, 7 o'clock. My neighbor rancher called and said, "Oh my gosh, the strangest animal has been hit and killed in front of the Canyon Ranch." So I got in the truck, drove over there, and I brought it back. And I took a 50-pound feed sack, and I cut it in half and laid it on the ground, and I laid the animal on it to give everybody a perspective of the size of the animal. I have seen mangy coyotes all of my life, and this had no hair on it and no indication at all that the skin was infested with any type of skin disorder from mange or anything else. It just did not have any hair on it at all.
Phyllis sent tissue samples from the dead creature out for analysis. After waiting expectantly for weeks, she was surprised by the results.
So when they called me, they said, well, it's coyote on the maternal side and Mexican wolf on the paternal.
The DNA tests indicating that the animal was a hybrid, essentially, between a Mexican wolf and a coyote is a little surprising in the fact that those species don't typically hybridize, but it's not entirely impossible. We do know that the ranges of those two species do overlap in Arizona and Texas and northern Mexico, so it's at least physically possible that they could encounter each other to form hybrids.
With such conclusive DNA results, many considered the case closed. But, according to Phyllis, something was not quite adding up.
The mystery of the whole thing was the manner in which every chicken was killed. It would suck all of the blood out. So we know that it's coyote and Mexican wolf, but neither of those animals suck blood. So even though this animal has that DNA, what is it? Why would it have that behavior? When the taxidermist mounted it for me, he had to get a coyote mold and a wolf mold and blend them together to make the hide fit. The tail is longer than a wolf tail or a coyote tail. The neck, the ears, everything was so extreme. It took him forever to get it mounted. We had about 13 different specialists from around the world come and look at it, and to date, they've all left scratching their head like the day they came in, because they just cannot figure it out as well.
Cayuga, Indiana, February 16th, 2019. Paranormal investigator Dave Spinks and his associate Haley Sharp have traveled here to this small town to investigate a house that many consider to be the most evil place in North America. Referred to as Willows Weep, it has been the site of a series of gruesome deaths since it was built in the 19th century. Brenda Johnson owns Willows Weep.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Dave.
She dismissed the rumors about it being an evil place and purchased it only a few years ago with plans to renovate it.
This is my assistant, Haley.
It's nice to meet you.
But recent events have convinced her that she may have made a terrible mistake. To this end, she's invited Dave and Haley to come and investigate the house and see if her strange experiences can be verified.
So, how you doing?
Not good standing here. All night last night I was sick thinking about coming over here around this house.
So tell us a little bit about the house, some of your experiences here.
Well, When I bought the house, we started working on it, and then my son was working on the ceiling. The boards come flying off at him and hurt him, and I've been scratched in there, 6 claw marks down my back, doors slamming on you, banging underneath the floors.
I understand there's been deaths in this house. Can you kind of go through those a little bit?
Yeah. The man that built the house, he died in the bathtub. There was 2 suicides, and then another hanging. And I heard that 3 men had been poisoned. About 6 months prior, before I bought it, there was a man that he committed suicide in there. He fell into the chair.
And that's where they found him? They found him, what, a couple days later, right?
Week.
A week later, okay. Do you think what's in that house is evil?
Yes, I do.
Without a doubt?
Yes, I do, without a doubt. If it wasn't evil, it wouldn't be hurting people. I don't think there's nothing good in there.
The house was built in the late 1800s, correct?
1890, yes.
So, regarding the shape of the house, it's in the shape of a cross.
Upside down cross.
Strange.
Yes, very strange.
Do you think the guy was into some weird stuff, like occult stuff, that built it?
Why would you build a house like that if you wasn't into something?
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to go into this house and investigate it. Would you like to join us?
No, no way. Never go back in there again, ever.
All right, we're gonna get in there and investigate.
All right.
Here we go.
All right.
Pretty heavy in here.
Definitely. Well, where do you want to get set up?
Right here.
Okay.
To see if the house might contain strange anomalies, Dave and Haley will use a temperature sensor, which can detect fluctuations in both temperature and electromagnetic fields.
All right, 41, 40 degrees, and it's going down.
It really likes this area.
Yeah. It's going nuts.
The temperature sensor has been dropping steadily by as much as 9 degrees. But why?
So this room is appearing to be pretty active so far. I mean, the whole house really is. But we've got a lot of hits right here on this device.
This is the chair that Brenda was talking about.
Yeah, look at the blood on it. It's a really sad, heavy feeling right here, too. I was pit in my stomach. Almost immediately, the device started going off in the chair where the man who killed himself in the house several years ago was found in.
Something there.
Could the strange changes in the temperature of the house be caused by some explainable force? A sudden drop in barometric pressure caused by the presence of a deep underground well, perhaps? Or could it be caused by something else? Something that can't yet be explained.
I'm getting the sickness, the headache. Definitely something negative in here, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right, so let's get out of here.
Let's go.
All right.
Dave and Haley are beginning to suspect that the stories of Willows Weep being an evil place might be based on more than fear and superstition.
The house is scary. I wouldn't want to be in this house alone. I'd say this house does have some evil in it. It does not give you a good feeling. It wants to suck the life out of you.
I've been to many locations, and this one stands out above all of them so far. In my personal opinion, there are many spirits and entities in this house. There are human spirits and possibly demonic spirits that influence the humans that have lived in this house and quite possibly have caused them to harm themselves.